Absentee voting by mail is an option for Tennesseans who, for whatever reason, cannot get to the polling place either during early voting or on election day. Anyone who wishes to vote absentee by mail has to have either done one of two things. Either A, they have to have voted in person at least once in Knox County. If they haven't, then they need to come to an election commission office, and we have two of them here in Knox County, and show us their photo ID so that we can verify that they are indeed a real human being. Assuming they've done that, the voter then has 15 different reasons to request an absentee ballot, and the most common ones include age 60 and over. Students who go maybe to college somewhere else are going to be out of town during early voting and on election day. Someone who's hospitalized or can't leave the home. A caretaker of someone who can't leave the home. Election officials, actually. You can also be a candidate on the ballot. Over-the-road truck drivers in Tennessee, you have to request an absentee ballot, and you can start that as early as 90 days prior to any election. The first thing they have to do is fill out what's called an application for absentee ballot. It's a form where voters have to give their name, their address, their full social security number by law, their date of birth, the address where they live, and the address where they want their ballot sent, and they have to sign it. We get it, we'll print it, we'll process it. If this person is qualified, they meet the qualifications, our office then proceeds to take that application for absentee ballot and get the voter the correct ballot. You're going to get the same ballot that everyone else gets based on your residence, based on your address. We put the ballot in an envelope like this, along with some other information, and we literally mail it to the voter, whether he or she is in Japan or whether they're in London, England, or London, Kentucky. And they're going to open this when they get it. When they open this up, they will pull out, you'll see, another envelope. And this is what the ballot will be mailed back in. Okay, this envelope right here, it does need postage. The voter needs to provide his or her own postage to mail it back. But ultimately, they'll set that aside. You will see what we call an affidavit envelope. Okay, and this is what the ballot goes in. They'll have a ballot, obviously, specifically for that voter. They'll have some basic instructions that go with it, telling them how to fill it out and what to do. They will fill out their ballot. They will put it in this envelope. They will seal it right here. There's a little place to seal it, but you'll see there's also a little flap here after the seal. And here the voter will have all of his or her information, so all they need to do is sign it and return it. It has to be returned by mail by the close of business on election day. We will open this up prior to election day whenever we receive it. We'll take this out. What we will do then is we will look at this signature right here. Then we scan this barcode that will be up here, and that's our voter history. And after that, we drop it into the box with the red lock and the blue lock, and it sits all the way up until election morning, anywhere between 8 and 9 for a big election, something like that, 8 and 9 in the morning. Then our commissioners open it. They open up the red lock. They open up the blue lock. We pour the ballots out. We organize and separate them. Then you will literally see our workers take the affidavit and remove it from the envelope, which is still sealed for the record. And what they do when they do this is we're trying to separate the vote from the voter. Then our workers, teams of Republicans and Democrats, proceed to start opening these envelopes, removing the ballots, flattening the ballots so they can be scanned. We'll run them through a high-speed scanner. In the polling place, if you mess up a ballot, you're going to see that little thing that says you've made too many choices or something. You can either cast ballot as is or you can request a new ballot. You can't do that at home. Any that cannot be read. We need a team of Republicans and Democrats to sit in front of a computer monitor and literally discern what did the voter mean here. Maybe they filled one entire box in, but they just put a little dot or a period in the next box. Well, then the team has to come together and say, okay, we think this is a vote for this candidate. There was this little pin mark here. But we do see things where things are written in sometimes, or somebody will mark through a box and then all of a sudden they'll scratch through it and say, not this guy, and fill the other box in. And the team has to come together and discern what was voter intent. And if the two of them can't do that, they'll pull in additional workers, Republicans and Democrats, to help adjudicate this in effect. And probably somewhere upwards of 10% of all of our ballots that come in and need to be scanned on election day by the absentee ballot counting board have to be adjudicated. It sounds very complicated. It's not. It can be very time consuming. A typical, maybe a small city election, we might have 500 absentee ballots, whereas for a presidential election, the last presidential election in 2020, we had 21,000 of these. And it says, oh, well, that's not a whole lot. You tell that to about the dozen or so people who are doing these over and over and over. But they got done, and our goal is to have all of these done and counted by the close of the polls on election night. So ultimately, people can go to bed knowing that, hey, these are the results of the election. And we don't know or care how they do it in other states, but in Tennessee, we're #1 for election integrity, and we think the way that we handle absentee ballots is a large part of that process.